Welcome to Story Comic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 286. I'm your host, Barney Smith of StoryComic.com, and we're excited to have back with us the acclaimed and celebrated comic creators of Raze, Sam, Willis, and Tre Primm.
Thank you.
What's going on?
Hey, how's it going, Sam? And Tre, welcome for the first time. This is your first time on Story Comic Presents, so it's great to see you.
Yes, it's not very often I get a chance to do these, so pretty excited.
Okay. And so last time when we were talking about Raze last time, it was issue number 5 when you're on the show talking about it. And now you have issue number 6 is launching as of this recording imminently, correct?
Mm-hmm. We're hoping for a July 30th, I think, release date for the issue 6 Kickstarter. So we're real close.
Right. So talk to us a little bit about what people can expect from issue number 6 for those that have been following your series so far.
Well, issue 6 follows the same kind of storytelling as 5, so we pick up right where we left off in the previous issue. So last time we were there, for those who read, they know that a certain character had recently gone missing, and then they had ventured out to locate where he was. So we pick up where issue 5 left off, so you will find out the status of said character in this issue. You'll get some more lore to the universe of Raze, you get some background stories, and then it's going to set up something big for the next issue as well. So if people are reading.
For those who are now looking at the Kickstarter and say, all right, so this is issue number 6, so I know that I can probably expect more issues. Gives them kind of a synopsis of the series.
Yeah, so I would say the synopsis is really, it's funny because it kind of changes each time that we go through these issues. But I think if you're starting at the beginning, it really is a deadly infection has broken out in on the outside city of New York. And we kind of push together a bunch of ragtag like survivors together, and they're trying to figure out what's going on and their means of survival. So it's kind of like issue 1 takes place on a bridge and nobody knows what's going on. And they kind of are just forced to figure it out really quickly and to figure out the rules of this universe and what's actually happening. And certain storylines are going to be pushed as we kind of get further and further in the series.
Okay.
But I will say, like, every issue we've been kind of going through, I don't know if Tre can attest to this, but it almost feels like the overall story is going forward, but each individual thing that we're kind of introducing is, I think, pushing different variables of the story together, which I think has been really interesting to write and kind of produce as we go through on each issue.
Just to remind people, is this a limited series or this is an ongoing series?
This is going to be an ongoing series. We have a general ending, and I say that very, very literally general because I don't know how long it's going to take to get there. But do expect, multiple issues to come out. So this will be quite the lengthy series. So we've got a lot of story to tell, and hopefully people can enjoy the story along the way and see how it progresses and evolves.
Right. Okay. So talk a little bit about some of your major characters in the comic.
Let's see. So major characters, I guess we'll start with so we have a lot of protagonists. I'd say the main protagonist, this character, Bucky, who you guys have probably seen previously. So he's stuck in this situation. He has his childhood best friend with him, Ian. He's this rich, very cocky kind of guy who kind of gets him into trouble. So those who have read issues 1 and 2, they'll know who I'm talking about when I say Ian. But Bucky's kind of like the glue. He kind of keeps everybody together. He's very, how do I put this? He's always trying to do the right thing. Always trying to make sure, no one gets left behind and that everybody, makes it towards the end. But you'll definitely see with him something pivotal is going to happen towards the end of this issue. And then, as I mentioned before, the next issue is going to set up something absolutely huge for him that's going to set the tone for the rest of the story.
Right. Okay. And so is this something along the lines of, people think about any of these post-apocalyptic type comics? Does it really rely a lot on like a wide array of characters, or is it really focusing on a limited number of protagonists?
It's definitely going to be a wide array of characters.
Okay.
One thing we definitely said when we started writing this is a lot of times when you're watching or you're reading these stories is sometimes your favorite character doesn't always get the story that you might have wanted them to, but you feel like they deserve. So we definitely want to make sure that everybody in the story does get some sort of character arc or some excellent story. So, while there is a main character and the story will revolve around his decisions and what's happening to him, we're definitely going to shine the light on every character we possibly can.
Okay. And so let's talk a little bit about the actual the Kickstarter. So you had a successful Kickstarter last when you did issues 1 through 5 as a collection.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things that you're going to be doing with with this new Kickstarter with issue number 6 as the reward tiers go?
So we've been working hard on issue 6, and we brought on a new artist. And I think the exciting thing about this Kickstarter was, we were really proud of the last one and trying to keep it unified and stylistically and like trying to do it a little bit different. And I think this one you're going to see is, as far as the rewards go, we were kind of able to dip our toes in a few different artists and doing some really cool covers, variant covers wise. I think it's our first time really branching out, and I know on issue 5's Kickstarter we kind of did a lot of the covers were like in-house, like Tre and my little brother working on it, but this time we got to obviously branch out and obviously try to bring some fresh eyes into this universe and into this story, which I think people are going to really appreciate. As far as the rewards go, we got some really cool stuff and some really cool stretch goals that we're trying to push for too. I think this Kickstarter is going to be very heavily oriented on that. Because at the end of the day, we want everyone to get a reward. You know what I mean? Whether you're a $1 backer or whether you're a $100 backer. And I think that's a really good way on how we're trying to unify everyone together where they get something at the end of this, which I think is going to be really awesome.
Is there anything specific and unique to this Kickstarter that you kind of wished you did in your previous Kickstarters?
Yes and no, because I feel like, it's two different animals,
Right.
We got to do on the 1 through 5, that was really that was our first successful Kickstarter, but it was a big thing of catching people up to our series, where I feel like we're doing that in this Kickstarter, but I feel like we're really honing in on the issue 6 part of this and really trying to get people involved, because I think even if you didn't read any of our issues before, you could hop into 6 and you can know what's going on. There's a missing child, they're trying to find it, and we kind of go through that whole storyline. I definitely feel like the issue 6 Kickstarter, as far as new artwork, and I think just overall new artwork, as far as seeing it on the Kickstarter and seeing it on the reward side, is something that I think we missed out on the last Kickstarter, which I think we kind of took advantage of this time. We have a really brilliant artist working with us. His name is Vin. He's awesome. He's incredible, and he's really been helping us put together this Kickstarter, and we've been having a blast do it with him. And that's probably the best part of this is a lot of these things, and hopefully I'm not speaking too much on other creators' behalf, but when we do these Kickstarters, there's an element that becomes, it becomes gratuitous, it becomes exhausting. So like breathing life into it and having fun and laughing and enjoying this process, that's been the best part of this Kickstarter with him, you know?
Right. So this Kickstarter just has variant covers?
We have 2
Really?
right now. No, we have 2.
Yeah.
So we have 3 covers, including the classic, which our incredible artist Ivan Lugamer does it. He's been doing the covers for now 6 issues. And we were able to actually have our interior artist do a cover, which is super cool. Which I think people are going to really enjoy what we're doing with that reward, with not spoiling too much. And then we also have Marco DeFillo, who's worked on Path of the Pale Rider, close friend of ours, and he knocked it out of the park with the cover. Probably, I mean, we haven't done that many variant covers, but it's honestly one of my favorites that I've seen. So,
in this Kickstarter, people can have access. You did say earlier, Sam, that people can pick up issue number 6 and kind of go from there. But if they wanted to read issues 1 through 5, you do have a catch-up tier there as well.
We do. So anyone who hasn't read our series before, they're going to be able to catch up on that side of things. It's going to be cool because I'm always interested when we do these Kickstarters to see some new fans come along and maybe not know who we are, but be able to get, that collection of issues 1 through 6 and,
right.
really form an opinion and see if they like it and see if they want to follow us as we go through this journey of Kickstarter.
Right. So Tre, say for instance, somebody's looking at the Kickstarter and they would say, zombies aren't really for me. Should they still read the comic?
I think they still should.
Yeah.
Because zombie, it may not be necessarily for everyone, but I think the story just has so much more than just zombies. And I'm sure a lot of creators do say that, but there's not just this one style that we're going for. I mean, there's a lot of interesting character moments between each other. So if you like, a funny comic, if you like to laugh, these characters are pretty wild. They do some pretty out of pocket stuff. So it's definitely worth a read if you like some funny stuff. There's the artwork's pretty good, as Sam was saying before. So there's more than just, one aspect to the comic. So even if zombies is not necessarily for you, I think this is also a very different type of zombie story, to where it's not going to be your very traditional or stereotypical, slow brain eating kind of creatures.
Right. So talk to us, because you both are the co-creators of this.
Mm-hmm.
Just to refresh us, how did the two of you get together and come up with the story of Raze?
That's so we actually met in middle school, and I was very afraid of Tre because I was not like it's middle school, so you're not grown up yet, but like this man was like a giant. Like he was terrifying. Like I thought he was gonna beat me up, and then he was like the nicest dude I've ever met, and we kind of just hit it off, just being.
And then I beat him up.
Yeah, and then he beat me up. But no, it's funny because we're huge gamers. We've always been huge gamers, and we love stories. Like we'll watch movies, TV shows, video games, whatever avenue we can find a good story. We always try to find it. And this whole comic started from like a what if question, and it definitely spiraled out of control. Because we're now, 12, 13 years later, where we have issues planned, and we planned for this for, I want to say, over a decade now. So, I mean, it's kind of that thing of we have a really cool idea, we're both passionate, and we're just kind of seeing where it takes us.
Okay. All right. And so how much of this that when the two of you work together, how much of talk about the creative process? There's some in charge of the plot, others in charge of character. How do the two of you work together on creating the script for Raze?
So we've had a pretty rough version of this prior, when we first started writing it way back when. So when we recently started writing it, we'll kind of go through I'd say an arc. So we'll say, all right, how's this whole arc going to play out? And then we'll break it down smaller. All right, now let's narrow it down to an issue. What are the major things that we can show here? Once we have the right plot set up, okay, let's talk characters. Who does this story work for the best for this issue? And then, we'll run it through cycles and cycles, make sure that, the dialogue works, it's enough story for one issue, but also we can set up the next issue. And we'll just kind of go through edits over and over and over. Sometimes even after we've written it and we're kind of okay with it, we'll revisit it 3 weeks later and say, all right, we got to look over this again to make sure that this is pristine. So it's not necessarily one person does one thing. I'd say it's really, all hands are everywhere to make sure we get the best product.
Right. So what about like the editing process? Do you two edit each other, or how do you know when the script and the dialogue it's good to go before you start drawing it out?
Well, it's really like, and I'm gonna say this blatantly honest. We'll come home and we won't say this, but it sometimes feels like this where we're like, we'll look at something and we'll just be like, that sucks. Like, let's go back. Let's fix this. Like, it's this thing I think that we've got really good at, and I think it's because of all the edits we've done and all the process of like going through 5-6 issues and finding our groove, where there's certain things that feel off. Like we're trying to tell a story in 3 acts. And like Tre was saying, you're trying to build up a future issue. You're trying to show action. You're trying to finish an arc. You're trying to show certain characters have this like limelight. And I guess it's kind of like the good thing that we chose so many characters, because you can kind of see when someone's like stepping out when they shouldn't.
Okay.
And you're just like, okay, that feels weird. Like, would they actually do that? Like, is that actually necessary right here? And I think that's kind of like being brutally honest about your work and about what you're reading, I think is the best way you can go about it, because I think like you just know if it doesn't feel like it fits. It's like almost putting like the wrong puzzle piece in, and you're just like, okay, this clearly doesn't go here. Let's try and figure out where it should go, or maybe where another character should go. And I think that's kind of how we've developed this process.
Okay. All right. Is there any specific characters that like either of you prefer to write for, and you're both kind of territorial of certain characters?
Let's see. I'd say prefer to write for. I did drop the name earlier, the character Ian, just because he's such a crazy character and he does some really unorthodox things. So whenever we write for him, it's really, there's no limitation as to what we can really do. You have your more reserved characters who you say, okay, we need to be a certain kind of mood for this character, or a certain tone, or would they do that or say that? This character, really, whatever comes to our mind, we can really just say, yeah, no, that's not out of character for him to do that or say that. So, it's really just a little bit more freedom with that character, I would say.
Okay. What about you, Sam?
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I mean, the out-of-pocket characters are just so fun. just because, like, there's certain characters where there's like a moral compass, and there's this thing where they have to be grounded and they have to bring you back to the serious side of storytelling, which we've caught ourselves a few times where we go a little bit too far with some of these characters, and it's really balancing like the comedy side and the serious side and having the zombie apocalypse side. So I think like, the funnest thing, which people will never see, is the things we write and then we delete, and it's the things that make me and Tre cry of laughter on the couch. We're like, we can't do this because this is too much. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's not gonna push the story forward. So we kind of just have to like scrap it. But it's like that process of like laughing and having a good time with those characters. It's like you're hanging out with your buddy on the couch. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's the funnest part. I think finding that line too, of, okay, we can do this, and we're gonna get right to the edge, and that's where they're gonna stay.
Oh,
You know.
speaking of, there is one more character I do love to write for, and you're gonna see him in this issue. This other character, Ray, and he's been in there a little bit, but he's sort of like Ian to where he'll say things. But you ever been in a situation where you wanted to say something and you can't say it because you're really gonna upset somebody? This is the guy who has that no filter. So anything we've ever wanted to say, he'll say it. So you'll see him in this issue. You're gonna have him and Ian both kind of spearheading this issue, so it's gonna be very interesting.
How would you compare your writing for issue number 6 from issue number 1?
Issue 1 was the experiment of like trying to really figure out how we were going to do these 3 acts, because I think it's sometimes difficult. We got 24 pages and the pacing has to be on point on what story you're trying to tell. And I think in the first issue we really didn't understand that, to be quite honest. We were kind of throwing all the characters together, but we didn't give you a reason why. We just kind of threw them at you. And I think really what issue 6 to me is, it's kind of like the accumulation of everything we've done thus far. Because there's some really cool, I think, with not spoiling too much, there's kind of some throwbacks, to where we started to where we are now. And I think the way we kind of bring the ideas of what this series has been so far is really cool. It's almost nostalgic in a way. And I think a lot of people who have started from issue 1 are really going to appreciate what we've tried to bring full circle from issues 1 to 6.
Okay. All right.
So I don't know if you have anything to add on that, Trey.
That I'd say also what's great about this, or at least being on number 6, is kind of what you were saying a little bit, is you have things to reference to. And I think there's a difference between introducing something and being able to reference it, because you can get more into the nitty gritty because, hey, we've already done this part. I don't have to kind of get you up to speed. You kind of know how things work,
Right.
So I can put a zombie in there and people already know how dangerous they are because I've already established it.
And what about also like the artwork, for instance, as well? So you got a new artist on here. How do you compare the artwork from issue number 6 to issue number 1 and 2?
Oh my God, it's like it's very different. I can tell you that right now. I think when we were going through this and again, not really knowing, I think the steps and you have an idea and you get excited and you want to do it. And I think what people might see and what we tried to introduce in issue 5 is we kind of change from Western over to, little hints and little notions of the manga style that you might see in a Japanese comic. And I think what we're trying to do is really bridge the two together between Western and manga. And I think when you see issue 6, you're really going to get that. You're really going to get that sensibility of, okay, they're very influenced by manga, and a lot of the movement and a lot of how we do things, I think, panel-wise, dialogue-wise, reaction-wise from these characters, you're going to get that manga influence. And I think it's something a lot of people are going to dig.
When will issue 7 come out? They already did issue 6. So how often do you see these coming out?
So this is our first issue with our new artist. So I wouldn't say we have a definite timeline just yet. He's been breezing through these, by the way. He's absolutely been killing it. So hats off to him. So I think we'll certainly get to 7 this year. I think with the Kickstarter, just because we'll have a segment where we're just kind of focused on funding. But generally, to get an issue done, it really doesn't take him that long. What would you say? It takes him like what?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, no, I wouldn't say it was a month. I mean, it's July. I mean, I want to say like we were on production with him issue 6, maybe April or May. So it's only been a few months, but he's also been doing Kickstarter stuff with us. You know what I mean? It hasn't been like he's 100% on just doing production for our issues. He's kind of had to move off in different directions where he wasn't 100% just doing our issue. You know, I think as far as like production wise, we're at like a 2 to 3 month production time. You know,
Nice. Okay.
and that is something we've tried to get to for years. You know, so I think moving forward with this artist and building traction, and you know, we're actively doing a lot of PR work and marketing wise with our comic. I think, you know, now the sky is the limit. You know, we just got to bring in that audience, and I think, you know, they're gonna get a really cool story, and they're gonna get it in, I think, convenient timing now, which is what we wanted to push for.
So if people want to learn more about Raze, where's the best place they could go to?
A few places. So we're on a lot of social medias right now. We're on so you can follow me at comics_Raze on Twitter. You can also follow us. Our official Twitter for our comic is Raze Comics. We're also on Instagram as Raze Comics. We're also on Facebook and TikTok under the same name. And we're also on Global Comics. I think that's probably the most convenient. You know, it's a digital website where you can go and just read our comics. I think we have the first couple issues for free. So if you want to come in and dive into these issues, you know, you have a good opportunity before this Kickstarter comes out, or wait for the Kickstarter where we have all these really cool rewards coming out. You know?
Okay. Perfect. Awesome. And yes, so for our audio listeners, it's Raze as in RAZE, not as in somebody named Ray. So it's their thing. So yes, it's Raze as in craze, not Raze as in Ray's Pizza. So yeah. Perfect. Well, listen, I'm really excited to see issue number 6 launch. And so in order to make this as well an evergreen podcast, if someone's listening to this in a year from now, if they want to purchase issue number 6 and they've missed the Kickstarter, where could they go to?
So we are heavily working on getting a website up and running after this Kickstarter kind of, you know, once we get all the care packages sent out and whatnot, and really focusing our energy on having one platform where you can come and, you know, get some of these physical issues and, you know, get introduced to our universe and, you know, get informed, you know, and that's something we're really excited about as well. So, you know, we got some really cool stuff coming towards the end of 2023.
Perfect. All right. Well, hey, Sam and Tre, this has been great. It's great talking to you, Tre, and it's great talking to you again, Sam. And
of course,
you're gonna have to come back on again to, you know, talk about issue number 7 and 8 and so on. So.
7's gonna be
just 7. Definitely don't want to miss that one.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Drinking tea and all of a sudden went down the wrong. It's that yogi like sleepy time tea, so it makes me nice mellow.
Yeah, right.
18. All right.